The bright smile never changed. The calm voice never became angry. And for years, millions believed Joel Osteen had found the secret to hope. But behind the packed stadiums, best-selling books, and television audience that stretched across the world, questions kept growing louder. Some came from critics. Others came from former supporters. Today, Joel Osteen remains one of the most famous pastors in America, but many people wonder if the challenges around him are becoming too big to ignore. For decades, Joel Osteen seemed almost impossible to dislike. While many pastors focused on judgment and fear, he spoke about hope, faith, and believing that better days were ahead. His simple messages reached families from Texas to Africa, Europe, and beyond. Every week, millions watched his sermons on television or online. His books sold in huge numbers, and Lakewood Church in Houston became one of the largest churches in the United States. Yet success brought something else. The bigger Joel Osteen became, the more people wanted to know about the man behind the message. They questioned how a pastor could live in a multi-million-dollar home while preaching about God's blessings. Others challenged the prosperity teachings often linked to his ministry, arguing that faith should never be measured by wealth or success. Osteen has repeatedly said he does not take a salary from Lakewood Church and instead earns income primarily from his books, but the debate has never fully disappeared. Then came moments that placed him under an even brighter spotlight. Some were controversies that spread across social media within hours. Others were difficult events that led to intense national news coverage. Each time, supporters defended him, saying many stories were misunderstood or taken out of context. Critics argued the opposite, claiming those moments revealed deeper problems. What makes Joel Osteen's story so fascinating is that both sides remain deeply convinced they are right. To millions, he is still an inspiring pastor who has helped people through grief, fear, and uncertainty. To others, he represents everything they believe has gone wrong with modern televangelism. Before we go any further, we'd love to hear your opinion. Do you believe Joel Osteen has been judged fairly over the years, or do you think the criticism is justified? Let us know in the comments. But to understand why so many people are questioning his future today, we first need to go back to the beginning, because Joel Osteen never planned to become the face of one of America's biggest churches. Joel Osteen's path to becoming one of the world's best-known pastors did not begin behind a pulpit. In fact, for many years, he avoided preaching altogether. While his father, the late John Osteen, built Lakewood Church into a growing congregation, Joel preferred working behind the scenes. He produced the church's television broadcasts, making sure the message reached homes far beyond Houston. He was comfortable staying out of the spotlight. Everything changed in January 1999. Just days before Joel was scheduled to deliver his first sermon, John Osteen unexpectedly died from a heart attack. The church was devastated. Many wondered who could possibly fill the founder's place. Joel, who had never considered himself a preacher, suddenly faced enormous pressure. Against all expectations, he stepped onto the stage. Few people expected what happened next. His calm personality, positive style, and simple language connected with people who normally never attended church. Instead of long theological debates, Joel spoke about hope, forgiveness, confidence, and believing that difficult seasons would not last forever. His sermons were easy to understand and reached viewers from many different backgrounds. The timing also worked in his favor. Television ministry was expanding rapidly, and later, so was the internet. Before long, Lakewood Church's broadcasts were reaching millions each week. His books climbed bestseller lists, including Your Best Life Now, which became a publishing phenomenon and introduced him to an even larger audience. But incredible growth often brings incredible scrutiny. As Joel's influence expanded, so did questions about his message. Many observers linked his preaching to what's commonly called the prosperity gospel, the idea, according to critics, that faith can lead to material success and financial blessing. Joel has often rejected being placed in a simple category, saying his goal is to encourage people and point them toward God rather than focus only on money. Even so, the debate refused to disappear. News stories began focusing not only on his sermons but also on his personal wealth, his large Houston home, and the financial success of his books. Because Joel has publicly stated that he does not receive a salary from Lakewood Church, supporters argued that much of the criticism ignored how his income was earned. Critics, however, questioned whether such wealth matched the image many people expect from a pastor. That disagreement became one of the defining stories surrounding his ministry. If you're enjoying this documentary, subscribe now, because the event that changed Joel Osteen's public image more than any other is coming next, and it sparked a national debate that still follows him today. In August 2017, one of the worst natural disasters in American history struck the Texas Gulf Coast. Hurricane Harvey dumped record-breaking rainfall on the Houston area, flooding neighborhoods, forcing thousands from their homes, and leaving entire communities searching for safety. As rescue crews worked around the clock, many people looked to churches, schools, and public buildings for shelter. That is when Lakewood Church became the center of a national controversy. Photos and social media posts began circulating that appeared to show the church's massive campus sitting dry while floodwaters surrounded much of Houston. Critics quickly asked why one of the largest churches in America was not immediately opening its doors to evacuees. Within hours, the story spread across television networks, newspapers, and social media, where thousands accused Joel Osteen and his church of failing to help during a crisis. The backlash was swift. Many posts claimed the church had deliberately stayed closed while people desperately needed shelter. Some public figures joined the criticism, and the controversy became one of the biggest news stories of the disaster. But that wasn't the whole story. Lakewood Church responded by saying the building had experienced flooding and accessibility problems, making it difficult to operate as an emergency shelter immediately. Church representatives also said they had been working with local officials and that once conditions improved, the facility opened to displaced families and relief workers. In the days that followed, Lakewood provided shelter, distributed supplies, and served as a hub for recovery efforts alongside volunteers and partner organizations. Even with those efforts, the damage to Joel Osteen's public image was significant. For many critics, the first impression had already taken hold. They believed the church should have acted faster, regardless of the logistical challenges. Supporters argued that social media had oversimplified a complex situation and ignored the assistance Lakewood ultimately provided. News organizations later reported on both the initial criticism and the church's relief efforts, but by then, opinions had largely hardened. The controversy highlighted a new reality. In the age of social media, public perception can form within minutes. A single image or claim, whether complete or incomplete, can shape how millions view a person before all the facts are known. For Joel Osteen, Hurricane Harvey became more than a disaster response story. It became a defining moment that critics continued to reference whenever his name appeared in the news. Even years later, discussions about his ministry often returned to those few days in Houston. Yet the scrutiny did not end there. As the years passed, new challenges emerged, from renewed debates over his ministry to unexpected security incidents that once again placed Lakewood Church in national headlines. Whether these events represent isolated moments or signs of a larger shift in public trust remains a matter of opinion. The years after Hurricane Harvey proved that Joel Osteen's ministry would continue to face intense public attention. Every new headline seemed to reignite old debates. Whether the news involved finances, security, or criticism of his preaching, one thing had become clear. Joel Osteen was no longer viewed only as America's smiling pastor. He had become one of the country's most closely watched religious figures. Then came another unexpected story. In November 2021, workers renovating a restroom wall at Lakewood Church discovered cash and checks hidden inside the building. The discovery attracted national headlines because it appeared to be connected to money reported missing from the church years earlier. According to law enforcement officials, the amount matched a 2014 report involving donations that had disappeared from a church safe. Authorities confirmed the discovery, but no one was charged in connection with the case, and many questions remained unanswered. The strange finding sparked a wave of speculation online. Some people immediately assumed there had been wrongdoing at the highest levels of the church. But investigators never announced evidence linking Joel Osteen personally to the missing funds. The case became another reminder of how quickly rumors can spread beyond the facts that authorities have actually confirmed. But the surprises were far from over. In February 2024, Lakewood Church was once again thrust into the national spotlight after a tragic shooting disrupted a Sunday service. An armed woman entered the church before being confronted by off-duty law enforcement officers working security. She was fatally shot, and the incident also left others injured, including a child. The event shocked worshippers across the country and raised difficult questions about security at large public gatherings. Joel Osteen addressed the congregation afterward with a message of prayer, healing, and gratitude for the officers who responded. Church leaders also expressed support for the victims and thanked emergency personnel for acting quickly. The tragedy was widely covered by major news organizations, but investigators did not suggest that Osteen or the church had caused the attack. Even so, the emotional impact was undeniable. For many members, Lakewood Church had always represented hope and peace. Seeing violence enter that space left lasting scars. It also reminded viewers that even highly visible ministries are not immune to the dangers faced by public institutions today. Through all of this, Joel Osteen supporters have remained remarkably loyal. Week after week, thousands still fill Lakewood Church, while millions continue to watch his sermons online and on television. His books continue to sell, and his message of hope still resonates with people facing illness, loss, or uncertainty. Yet critics remain just as committed. They argue that questions surrounding prosperity theology, wealth, and accountability have never been fully resolved. Supporters counter that much of the criticism focuses more on perception than verified facts, pointing to Osteen's decades of ministry and charitable work. That leaves one final question. After decades of extraordinary success, repeated controversies, and relentless public scrutiny, how will history remember Joel Osteen? Will he be seen as a pastor who inspired millions despite constant criticism, or as a symbol of the ongoing debate over faith, fame, and influence in modern America? The answer may never be as simple as either side hopes. For some people, Joel Osteen's story is proof that a positive message can change lives. They point to countless testimonies from people who say his sermons helped them through grief, addiction, depression, financial hardship, or moments when they felt they had lost all hope. They see a pastor who reached millions by speaking in a way that felt welcoming rather than condemning. For others, the story looks very different. They believe Joel Osteen represents a broader change in modern Christianity, one where success, celebrity, and media influence have become deeply connected with ministry. Critics argue that churches should focus more on sacrifice and service than on personal prosperity. That debate has followed Osteen for years, and it shows no signs of disappearing. What makes his legacy so unusual is that both views exist at the same time. Despite decades of criticism, Lakewood Church remains one of the largest congregations in the United States. Millions continue to watch Joel Osteen's weekly messages across television, streaming platforms, and social media. His books still reach readers around the world, and his influence extends far beyond the walls of his church. At the same time, nearly every major controversy has left a lasting mark on his public image. The Hurricane Harvey backlash is still discussed years later. Questions about prosperity theology continue to divide Christians and religious scholars. The discovery of hidden cash inside the church fueled fresh speculation, even though investigators never accused Osteen of personal involvement. And the tragic 2024 shooting reminded everyone that even places built around hope can become scenes of heartbreak. Each event added another chapter to a story that is still unfolding. Perhaps that is why Joel Osteen remains such a fascinating public figure. He inspires deep admiration from millions while attracting equally passionate criticism from others. Very few religious leaders have experienced that level of visibility or that level of scrutiny. Have you ever faced a moment where one event changed the way people saw you, even if they didn't know the whole story? Share your thoughts below. Stories like this often remind us how quickly public opinion can shift, and how difficult it can be to change once it does. As for Joel Osteen, only time will determine how history remembers him. Will future generations focus on the hope he preached, the lives his ministry touched, and the global audience he built? Or will they remember the controversies that repeatedly challenged his reputation? The truth is that both are now part of his story. One thing is certain: the conversation surrounding Joel Osteen is far from over. Every new headline, every interview, and every major event has the potential to reshape his legacy once again. And whether you admire him, question him, or remain undecided, his journey has become one of the most closely followed stories in modern American ministry. If you found this documentary thought-provoking, there's another story waiting that explores the rise, controversy, and lasting legacy of another famous public figure. You may think you know that story, but the biggest revelations are still ahead.